The year is 1590. A ship cuts through the grey Atlantic, carrying one man back to the place he never should have left. Governor John White grips the railing as the familiar coastline of Roanoke Island comes into view. 3 years. 3 agonizing years kept away by war, by weather, by forces beyond his control. His daughter is on that island, his granddaughter too, and little Virginia, barely 3 years old. He calls out as he steps ashore. Silence. He searches the fort. The houses are gone, not burned, not destroyed, dismantled, carefully, deliberately, as if the people who built them simply decided to leave. 115 men, women and children gone. No bodies, no blood, no farewell. Just a single word carved into a wooden post at the gate. C-R-O-A-T-O-A-N. John White would spend the rest of his life trying to find them. He never did, and neither has anyone else. To understand what was lost on Roanoke Island, you first have to understand the world that created it. It is 1584. Queen Elizabeth I sits on the throne of England, and the race for the New World is already well underway. Spain has plundered the riches of Central and South America. France has planted its flag in the north. England, proud, ambitious, fiercely competitive, has been left behind. Enter Sir Walter Raleigh, explorer, poet, soldier, and one of the most charismatic men in Elizabethan England. He had a vision: establish an English colony in the Americas, not just a trading post, a permanent settlement, a New England in the New World. Queen Elizabeth granted him a charter. In 1584, Raleigh sent an expedition to scout the territory. The men returned with glowing reports of a paradise: fertile land, friendly natives, rivers teeming with fish. England was enchanted. The Queen herself named the new territory Virginia, after herself, the Virgin Queen. Everything seemed perfect. It wasn't. In 1585, the first English expedition landed on Roanoke Island, a small strip of land nestled between the Barrier Islands and the mainland coast. 108 men, no women, no children. This was not a colony yet. It was a military garrison. Almost immediately, things began to go wrong. The English struggled to grow food. They arrived too late in the year to plant crops. Relations with the local Secotán and Croatoan peoples, initially friendly, began to fracture. A silver cup went missing from an English camp. In retaliation, the English commander burned an entire native village to the ground. Trust, once broken, rarely heals cleanly. By 1586, supplies were critically low. When Sir Francis Drake arrived on his way home from raiding Spanish settlements, the colonists made a desperate decision. They abandoned Roanoke and sailed home. A few weeks later, a resupply ship from Raleigh arrived at the island. It found nothing but an empty fort, and 3 men left behind to hold the claim. 3 men, alone, on a wild and unfamiliar coast. They were never seen again. Despite the failures, Raleigh refused to give up. In 1587, he sent a second expedition, but this one was different. This was not soldiers. This was a community. 117 men, women and children set sail for the New World, led by a man named John White, a gifted artist who had painted some of the most detailed records of the New World's native peoples ever produced. White had a personal investment in the colony's success. Among the settlers was his own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and she was heavily pregnant. On July 22, 1587, they landed on Roanoke Island, and just 17 days later, Eleanor Dare gave birth. A girl, the first English child born in the Americas. They named her Virginia Dare. The colony celebrated. The future, finally, seemed to be arriving, but the resupply ships that had been promised were late, dangerously late. Supplies were running low, tensions with the neighbouring Secretan were simmering. The colonists turned to John White and asked him to do something nearly impossible for a father and a grandfather. They asked him to go home. On August 27th, 1587, John White boarded a ship and left Roanoke Island. He left behind his daughter, his granddaughter, his people. He promised to return in months. He would not see them again for 3 years. Back in England, fate intervened in the cruelest way possible. The Spanish Armada arrived, the greatest naval threat England had ever faced. Every available ship was commandeered for the defence of the realm. White tried desperately to get back. He organised expeditions, he pleaded with Raleigh, he pleaded with naval commanders. No one would let him go. For 3 agonising years, John White sat in England completely powerless, while somewhere across a vast and indifferent ocean his family waited. Can you imagine that? Knowing your daughter and your granddaughter are out there, alone, in the wilderness, and there is absolutely nothing you can do. On August 17th, 1590, White finally stepped ashore on Roanoke Island. The settlement was abandoned, the houses dismantled, the palisade fence stood, but inside, nothing. He called out. No one answered. Then he saw it, carved into the post of the main gate, C-R-O-A-T-O-A-N. Before leaving, the colonists had agreed. If they moved, they would carve their destination. If they were in danger, they would carve a cross above it. There was no cross. Croatoan, Manteo's island, just 50 miles south. They had gone there. They had to have gone there, and they were safe and waiting. White ordered the ships to sail south. Then a storm hit. Ships were damaged. The captain refused to risk the fleet further, with White begging from the deck. The ships turned around and sailed back to England. John White never returned. He died around 1593, spending his final years writing about the colony with a grief so deep it bleeds through every page. He never found his daughter. He never found Virginia Dare. No one did. 4 centuries of investigation have produced theories, but no answers. The most accepted: the colonists merged with the Croatoan people. The carving, the dismantled buildings, the absence of violence all suggest a voluntary departure. Decades later, explorers reported native communities with grey eyes and European knowledge. The Lumbee people of North Carolina have long held that the colonists were their ancestors, but hard proof has never been found. Others believe they were killed, possibly by Chief Powhatan, who later boasted to Jamestown colonists of destroying an English settlement and its native allies. Still others believe they attempted to sail home and were swallowed by the Atlantic. And in 2012, a hidden symbol was discovered beneath a patch on one of John White's own maps, a fort-like marking 50 miles inland. Excavations there have uncovered European pottery from the late 1580s. Was this where they went? We still don't know. Here is what we know with certainty. 117 people built a life on Roanoke Island in 1587. Their governor sailed for help. A war held him away for 3 years. When he returned, they were gone. Virginia Dare, the first English child born on American soil was 3 years old the last time anyone who loved her saw her face. Somewhere out there, in the earth, in the bloodlines of families who don't know their own history, in fragments of clay buried beneath Carolina soil, the answer exists. We just haven't found it yet. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly the way it was meant to be. If unsolved mysteries of history fascinate you, subscribe and tell me in the comments, what do you think really happened to the lost colony? The debate is 400 years old. We're just getting started.